Let's talk about feelings. Or shall we talk about feelings? In your beautiful accent, those were the words that you told me once you started to feel something in there and in there.
What's that?
Down there is that where? But before we get there, we left off on a sour note. You had just given me the friend card, and my entire world crumbled, everything. And I think you can now understand, and I think you guys could understand that based off of that psychic interaction, based off of the downloads, based off of when we met and you deciding, that's it, you didn't want to be in your relationship, based off of everything that happened, I was for sure that this meeting in London was going to be it. And it was a terribly awkward 2 days. Should we dive in a little bit into where we were at in our lives now that we look back and understand and maybe share with them why we now realize it was an awkward 2 days?
Sure.
You want to go?
Well, I think I'd already touched on that I was in my masculine.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't allow, like, especially not a man, to do anything nice for me. Yeah, but I feel like more interesting is, where were you? Like, when we say you have no chill, you were such a different person then compared to now.
Completely.
What does no chill Danny look like?
Really uptight, really needing to be perfect, really needing to control the outcome and the paradigm, really needing to look and appear a certain way. And quite honestly, really not being my authentic self. Mm-hmm. That's where I was. And in many ways, really in my feminine back then. It was weird, Jen, because I think I was living some sort of like double life in true Gemini fashion, right? Where like to the outside world, like, I host seminars, I got it all figured out. But when it came to like a woman's love, I was a mess. And it stems really deeply in, my relationship with my mom and my dad, feeling very alone and not loved by my parents. And I was always searching for love outside of myself. The interesting thing is that when you and I had finally met, I had already discovered that I was the one. I had already done a lot of work, but I still was obviously acting out a certain way, And you, in your energy, reflected that to me. It's like you made me aware of that. Like, I now am like, I wear tracksuits now for the first time in my life.
Do you remember when you used to call me Tracksuit Jen?
Tracksuit Jen.
Can Tracksuit Jen not turn up today?
I'd be like, can Tracksuit Jen please not show up today? Can you like get dressed? And like, because it was always this like, you had to look a certain way. I had to look a certain way. It was all part of my journey. Mm-hmm. It was all part of me, accepting me for me. And it was also part of me not being so attached to what a woman thought of me. Not all the women, but like whenever I wanted a woman, it was like, is she going to want me back and all of that, right? That was a real big part of my paradigm. So for sure that was present with you. Mm-hmm. For sure that was present with you. Do you remember when we were like walking on the sidewalk?
Oh my God. This is like the perfect embodiment of like what we were going through. Is Danny wouldn't let me walk on the side of the pavement or sidewalk where the cars came by. He kept like pushing me on the inside,
guiding you,
pushing me. Which, imagine Jen, who is like highly in her masculine, It's like, you don't tell me what to do
or where to walk.
or where to walk. You don't protect me. I protect me.
And all I'm trying to do is protect her. Like, think about that. Isn't that wild? Like, you wouldn't allow yourself to be protected.
But the dark side of that was, I must do what a man does to be the most upstanding man, so that she thinks that I'm like, it was all very rigid
and superficial.
And you could feel that. So it's like, now when you do that, I'm like, oh, that's really sweet, because it feels different.
But you know what, baby? What we don't realize is, even back then, we were like fucking mirroring back to each other, hyper, but we weren't aware of that.
No.
We weren't aware of that.
So we have this dynamic where we mirror our shit to each other thick and fast.
So bad.
Which in the beginning, the whole beginning of our relationship was so genuinely hard, like really hard, because being in a relationship with someone where all your shit hits you face on, front on, and just when you get over that part, it's like the next day comes and there's something else. And you're like...
I feel like the title of this episode should be Twin Flames.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think this is a part of our dynamic that I feel like we really need to like dive into. What you just said was so true. Guys, our energy when we're next to each other, and especially at the beginning, you know, if you could just picture, you're not the woman you are today. I'm not the man that I am today, but it was because of our relationship, right? Like, what we used to feel at the beginning was so disgusting inside. It was so nasty, so thick inside, that we would be like, I have to get away from you.
Yeah.
Or you go in it.
Yeah.
There was, or
fix it quickly.
Because something's... So we were mirroring back to each other all of our shit, right? You know, I know that nowadays, I recently made a video on twin flames that say, you guys got to chill the fuck out with this whole twin flames thing. Because I feel like too many people are like really caught up in it. I'm going to go on record and say that I truly do believe we are on a twin flame journey, right? But I can only say that because of this dynamic. Mm-hmm. How would you describe it?
Just like that. Just... it just really brings up the depths of your shit. But the light side of that is the immense amount of healing and growth in being together.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we don't sit on anything. We used to feel so awkward and uncomfortable with each other because there was this like thing going on and you didn't want to share and I wanted to protect myself and all the things that were going on. So we would just kind of sit there like, this feels shit, and not say anything.
And you'd be like, I'm going back to London.
And my escape, and still sometimes is, I'm like, fuck this, I'm going home. But it was an easy escape because I could, and I did. I always ended up leaving, right? Because that was how we were doing life back then, long distance. So now, instead of sitting on it for long periods of time and letting it build till you're like, oh my God, I'm drowning, I can't breathe. We feel that uncomfortable feeling. And let's be honest, we just had a moment before we filmed the episode and it's so awkward and uncomfortable that like we can't even speak. No. And now we're so good at, let's just hash it out.
Yeah.
Let's just talk it out until it feels better in the body and in union with each other, and then it's like gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
So backtrack.
Okay.
Backtrack. Danny leaves London. He's looking at me because he knows what I'm about to say and he's scared.
Hey, it is what it is. I'm an open book.
Danny leaves London, and it wasn't a nice leaving. Like, that journey home from the restaurant when I had friend zoned you was one of the most awkward journeys home of my whole entire life.
That
Like,
was one of, now that we look back, that was one of our moments. Because I was feeling like,
yeah. Danny was pissed. And I'm just like looking straight ahead. Oh, shit. You leave London, you get on the flight home, and I receive this essay of an essay on WhatsApp. I'm not even saying this to embarrass you, but I feel like you're getting embarrassed.
oh my God.
And it was like really mean. Do you remember?
I didn't think it was mean.
What did it say?
I don't remember.
Something along the lines of how I had like used you, right?
It was something along the lines of, I felt like for the last 3.5 years, obviously I take ownership in the fact that I was thinking and feeling something completely different than you were thinking and feeling. But if you look at the last 3.5 years, it was like, I mean, we, call it a friendship, but we were in some sort of a relationship. There was some sort of a communication dynamic where
sure.
we would always find a way to like talk to each other.
Uh-huh.
We would always find a way to check in and to laugh, and we would start for like an hour just going back and forth. So by the time that we met, it felt like something had to happen from all of that. So I felt not only let down, but I felt like I was always there for you. I felt like I was always helping you, guiding you, being a friend for you. However, I do see how, underneath it all, maybe it wasn't really being a friend because I had other interests. So I could accept that. But we had that conversation back and forth. And it was, I remember I was like, my ego was hurt.
For sure.
Is what happened.
And the thing is, Danny, is I can obviously see that now. Now that I know, at the time I didn't know this whole backstory. So I'm just a little bit bewildered. Obviously, I understood by that point that you had something for me and that was the situation. But I was like, why is he so like hurt? And like, no, I haven't used you. Like, so have you felt like the friendship and us being in flow and being there for each other and all these things is like me using you. So we didn't speak for a while.
So we didn't speak for like 3 weeks.
Maybe longer, I think.
It was the longest stretch in 3+ years.
Yeah, we didn't speak for a while.
And luckily, as fate would have it, we had already agreed that you would come to teach yoga live at Awaken here in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a trip planned to Mexico that I was meant to go on with my friend. So I got to this part in the booking of the trip where I needed to go from Mexico to Austin. So I couldn't book my Mexico trip without confirming whether I was or wasn't teaching yoga at Awaken. So it kind of like forced me to talk to you. So I remember messaging you like, so like, should we talk? Am I kind of teaching yoga at Awaken? Because I'm trying to book a trip and I need to know. And you said, yeah, come. It was like the air had kind of cleared a bit by then.
It was, by that time, what was going on inside of me was, I was really mad. Not at you. I was mad at like Spirit, Source, the angels, because they were obviously fucking with me.
You were like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I was, but baby, I was like, then have I been like tripping out this whole time? Because
that's confusing.
I know what happened. Like I know what I felt. Like I knew we were going to be together, But by then, like my walls went up and I was like, yeah, just come. No big deal. Whatever the case may be. And so you go to Mexico.
Which I ended up doing alone.
What was that like?
It was so perfect that I ended up having to go alone. And I didn't have to go alone. But once the opportunity arose that I was going to whatever, you get what I'm saying? I was like, this is a really great healing opportunity for me to go be so outside of my comfort zone. I'd always had a bit of a fear of traveling, and that really helped me to unlock that fear of traveling. And I just felt so free. I was single. I was like discovering my femininity. And it was just cool. I had a great time.
And something happened on the beach.
I knew you were going to say that.
What happened on the beach?
So this dude, I'm in the sea. I'm just like listening to music, looking out at sea, and some dude comes up and starts chatting to me. And I feel like in Tulum, there's this whole like spiritual scene.
That isn't really spiritual.
It's not very spiritual at all. And they're like, let's go do mushrooms together and like Kundalini and Tantra and fuck knows what. And you're like, what are you talking about? So this guy starts talking to me, and I was in this phase, and this is something I still have to work on, where I'm quite polite. So I don't want to be rude to anyone, but that's at the expense of my own boundaries of like, no, like leave me the fuck alone. And he just kept talking. I was like, okay, I'm going to go like back to my sunbed now. And he kind of like sat on my sunbed with me because it was a double sunbed and I was on my own, and just started like hitting on me, trying to kiss me. And I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And you know, one of those moments, and I feel like women are going to relate to this, where it just happens so quickly. And you're like, all of a sudden your boundaries don't exist. And you're like, wait, I'm like kissing some dude on the beach that I don't want to be kissing. It's making me feel really uncomfortable.
So he literally
like, he didn't force himself on me because there was no like force, but it was uncomfortable. And I remember I was like, I need to get out of the situation really quickly. So I was like, I'm going to go call my brother. I need to go to my room. And I remember feeling a bit scared because it had dawned on me I was on my own, or if he like knows where my room is. It was a very weird situation. So I go back to my room, and of course, because I'm in Mexico, everyone in London is asleep. So I felt really alone. So I called you.
You called me?
Yeah.
What made you think of calling me?
Now I feel shy. You're just so wise and comforting. You were very comforting to me. Like, I look to you as someone that genuinely always made me feel really safe, and who I just flowed with, that could help me unpack my life in ways that most people in my life can't. So I really respected you and admired you and like felt love for you in that way. So yeah, I called you, and you did. You really helped me.
Yeah.
And we chatted for quite a long time.
We did. I remember there being this battle within me, like, she thought to call me, but then right away it would be like, nope, friend zone. This is over. Don't do, because I was guarded.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, ain't happening, you know. And you stayed how many days in Tulum?
A long time, like 10 days on my own, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I fly to Austin.
Well, hold on. Didn't you write something in your journal or something like that?
Stop it. Yeah. So when I was in Tulum, I was lying on the sunbed at this point on my own, and there was this space next to me. And I remember thinking, what kind of a man do I want to call into my life? Like, what kind of a man would I want lying here next to me right now? And I wrote in I don't remember what I wrote, but I wrote in my journal, I'm calling in a man who is loving and kind and like appreciates me for who I actually am and sees me for who I really am. Basically, like everything that you are. And what was so interesting is my whole life I'd been so focused on looks, because that's kind of what we're taught. Like, find someone that looks like da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
What was that for you? What was
In the past.
Yeah, in the past. Especially from your community, your culture, it's very much like, what was that like?
Tall.
I'm not.
Like tanned.
Okay, well, I'm tanned.
I liked dark hair.
Okay, I have dark hair.
Jewish.
Not Jewish.
You're not Jewish. Yeah, just very basic bitch shit, let's be honest. It's just like what society tells you to perfectly tick your boxes off.
So I didn't fit that. Of course you weren't going to think me because I didn't fit.
No. But what was interesting was at that point, there was not one thing when I was calling in my dream man that mentioned anything about looks.
You were starting to...
like, feel from my heart. It was like, what do I want to feel in relationship, not what's on the exterior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then,
hang on. While this is happening, you're going to show up on a Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
And I had realized as a result of our interaction in London that there was something definitely wrong with my masculine energy. Something was off. So as much as I was like, well, this is obviously not happening, I was like, I got to go fix this. And a group of guys here in Austin were hosting an event. It was Garen and Stefanos and Samson and Preston and all the guys, you know. And in true Danny fashion, I didn't know what the event was. I don't ever think. I don't listen to details. I don't care about what it costs. If it feels like I should be there, I just show up. So I remember I was talking to him. He was like, man, you got to come. And I was like, all right, well, like these dudes, you know, I'm sure they make money. It's probably going to be a nice hotel. Like I was really on my like diet back then.
It was a weekend like retreat.
It was a weekend retreat is what I thought.
Right.
And because I have held weekend retreats, I assumed it was a certain kind of retreat. Babe, I show up.
It's the funniest story.
I show up. They steal my phone. They point to our cots where we are sleeping in like straight up like Navy SEAL, Army, outdoors. Like they start yelling at us in our faces. I thought I was going to fight all of them because my ego was not having this shit, right? Luckily, everyone else had like been preparing and knew what they were getting. I had no idea. I thought I was going to like some bougie like influencer shit, right? Because of who was hosting it, right? Next thing you know, I'm having to do push-ups and sit-ups, and my fucking cocky ego flared so big. Like I was like, I got this, no big deal, because I was in the best shape of my life back then, right? And like this dude, this big, massive, thick beard Army Ranger, killer, babe, killer dude. His name is Johnny Lasseter, I think he is. He's wonderful. But he's in my face and he's like, you're the one I'm going to break. And I'm like, you ain't breaking shit. Like I have this look on my face, right? I go this weekend. The first night they have us run 2 miles with a log. And I'm like, nope, they're not getting me. Nope, they're not getting me. Nope, they're not getting to me. And the next morning, I don't think I slept even 30 minutes. It's 4 a.m. It's dark outside. They come in, they're banging pots and pans. Get your fucking asses up right now. move it, move it, move it. And you have to put on your pants and leave your bed made. You got 3 minutes. Oh, you left a Q-tip on the bed. Everybody drop and give me 500 push-ups. And you're doing push-ups. Oh, you don't like push-ups? Get on your backs. Kick your...
The whole
Hell.
thing. The whole thing.
Hell. And the whole time they're telling you, you're free to go. You're free to leave at any time. And your ego is like, no, I'm not, no, you're not going to break me, right? And finally, I was like, what am I even doing here? Like, Jen is coming, right? I can like hang out with her. I don't want to leave. And what happened was that weekend, I learned about the importance of brotherhood because it was no longer about me. It was like me leaving would hurt these guys.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful weekend. It ended up being incredible. It was really life-changing for me. But what happened was you arrived. I had no way of communicating with you.
So I'm texting Danny, like I'm about to get on the flight. And I remember they said on the flight, like, Austin immigration is closing in like 10 minutes or something. And I was freaking out, like, oh my God, what if I get there and I don't get through? I was just panicking. And I'm texting and I'm calling you and no answer.
Because I don't have my phone.
No answer.
So
I'm thinking, this dude is probably on some like romantic weekend away with some chick, which actually, weirdly, you had planned.
I had actually planned to go to Colombia that weekend.
Yeah.
With some girl. But I decided not to.
And go to the men's retreat.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think deep inside, as mad as I was, I still had hope. And I was like, if it is her, I don't want to be with anybody else. That's disgusting. Like this, you know. So if you're going to go to this men's retreat. And in many ways, that's my nature. It's like, I want to fix. I want to work on. I don't want to avoid. I want to go into it.
Yeah. So the cab drops me. He's still not replied. Nothing. Going to answer phone. The cab drops me on South Congress, like a street in the middle of Austin. I have no idea where I'm going. I have like so much luggage. And I'm starting to be raging now.
Now you're mad at me.
Now I'm mad. Now I'm actually
Because you think I'm doing this on purpose.
I think you're doing it on purpose.
To get back at you.
Yeah.
Right.
So I get to the hotel. The whole night goes past, nothing. Wake up in the morning, nothing still. And I'm like messaging my brother, like, what the fuck is going on? And then I'm like, oh, if he doesn't reply, I'll just chill here for a week and then I'll go home, like whatever. I'd kind of got past it. But I was still mad.
You went on a date, by the way, while you were here in Austin.
I did.
That one still bothers me, just so you know.
Okay. Moving on.
Keep going. That one does still bother me.
Okay.
Legitimately bothers me.
Okay, swiftly moving on. Eventually, it's like 4:00 that day. The next day, you decide to reply and you're like, don't ask. I've had the craziest weekend. Just come over and like we'll have dinner or something.
Yeah.
And a part of me was like, thank God he replied. I came over. You made me
pasta.
Yeah, you remembered. You made me pasta. And we just like had the funniest evening because you're telling me the story, of the men's retreat. Danny is covered in bites, cuts, bruises. You literally looked like you'd been, it was quite shocking to be honest.
Yeah, no.
You looked like you'd been to war.
Yeah. Wait, highlight of that weekend.
What?
I'm carrying a log like this massive log. And, you know, all of the drill instructors or whatever, like, you know, they're in a zone. I know who they are, but they're also, they're playing, not playing, they're in a
role.
They're in a role.
Yeah.
Right? To get something out of you. And this little dude who I already didn't like in the real world shows up and decides to like be like the extra drill instructor. And this little dude gets on in my face because obviously I know he doesn't like me. And he's like talking shit to me. And there's video. We actually should get this video, right? No, because I don't want to. But anyways, there's this video where I let him have it. And I go, your little bitch ass couldn't carry this log even if you wanted to. And that's why you're yelling, because you feel like a little bitch in my presence. And all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. I was ready to fight everybody. I remember Garen is over here like, oh shit. Like, because everybody was like, because they were all trying to like break me, right? Right. And I wouldn't allow myself. That was the beauty of the journey, is that obviously, but yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment. I remember we were laughing about that.
We were, yeah. I found the whole thing, once I had like got over being mad and understood what had happened, I was in hysterics at the story.
Hey friends, thanks for joining us here on Finding the One. We would absolutely love your support, and this is going to be our only ask. Please subscribe wherever it is that you're watching, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Subscribe and leave a comment and let us know how you're enjoying the show, because it truly, truly goes a long way.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
I think that's it. So that's all we want to tell them.
What are you handing over to me?
Well, I don't know. I'm just handing over the mic. But if you don't want to take it, I'm going to hand it over to you now to go out and just click subscribe wherever you're listening. We really appreciate you. The other thing that happened from that dinner, the next day was like a Monday. I think we went paddleboarding.
We just ended up hanging out. So the Awaken started on Thursday. And I got there on the Saturday night, and we hung out on Sunday, and we literally spent every single day together. Like
genuinely as friends.
Genuinely as friends.
And I genuinely was like, this is not happening. So just hang out.
So.
But can I say something?
What?
Go ahead.
If you knew Danny and I at the time, we were both in this phase of our life where it was like, we don't really like chilling with people.
Right.
Like.
Well, we're still kind of.
We're still a little bit like that. Yeah. But we were doing that alone. Now we do that together.
Yeah.
So when we had spent so much time with each other and not got bored of each other and kept wanting to spend more time with each other, it was quite confusing.
Because I don't like being around anybody.
We kept saying this to each other. Right. I don't like being around people. Why do I like being around you?
Right. I will say, when we went paddleboarding and you're in your bikini and I'm like, back then, like 8-packed out, and I was like checking you out, I thought, you're obviously beautiful. So I could vividly remember that. Like, life is good. Like, I'm with this beautiful woman. I'm unattached to whatever happens or doesn't happen. And I want to talk more about that, because that was the energy that was needed.
Well, that was the moment.
That was the moment, right? And I was like, life is good. Life is good, We end up spending every day together. Every day we did something. And it was like, I remember my heart started to feel excited to see you. I remember that. Even though my mind was like, nope, friend zone.
Yeah.
What was happening for you?
Well, because it was, by the time we got to Thursday Awaken, it was like you would get off stage and all of us would have lunch like backstage or whatever. And I remember just like feeling excited to see you. And we had this like, I don't know, this like thing going on.
This flirty thing.
Yeah. Right?
Do you remember Austin and Choo Choo?
Yeah.
I remember Austin and Choo Choo had brought like a girl to Awaken that they were trying to like hook me up with.
Right.
And then they brought, we'll talk about this later, another girl, 2 girls.
To your birthday.
To my birthday party. They were like pimping me out or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking. But I remember I just had eyes for you. That's it.
So Thursday, I remember all your friends were going to see a movie.
I had bought tickets to the movie.
Oh, you'd bought tickets to the movie, but you messaged me like, what are you doing after? Should we go for dinner? And I was like, but you're going to the movie. And you're like, no, we'll go for dinner. So we went for dinner.
And that's when you were like, I think you were like, oh.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
I want to ask you, this is where the lesson of this episode comes from. Unattachment.
Right.
Talk to me about the dynamic. Talk to me about why unattachment is so important in relationship and in attraction in general.
Well, I think we need to go one step further of the story, which is that moment where the title of the episode comes from, which is we spent all this time together. We were like cuddling a bit on the sofa, and I started to feel some types of ways.
What did you feel?
I was feeling things.
Where? Do I make you horny, baby?
You know, it was so weird because the only way I can describe it is normally when you feel that type of way, it's like coming from your mind. Like your mind and your body are in alignment with each other.
No,
so
all jokes aside, I think this is really important.
You're signaling like, oh, he makes me feel this type of way. But for me in the moment, it was like my mind was completely elsewhere of it's not Danny. He's not the one for me. But my body was saying something completely different. So I would get home to my hotel at night and be like, I am so confused because my heart's like all fluttery. Things are fluttering around.
In your knees.
In my knees and my toes.
Yeah.
But my head's still so stuck on, it's not him. Like I wouldn't allow myself to even go there.
You know what I'm tripping on right now? Is the fact that the conversation was even like, it's not him. Never did you think, why don't I just hang out and like have fun? It was like, that was never an option for us.
No. It's like either he's the one
all in or
right.
Yeah.
And can I say at this point, I'm so nervous about using you and upsetting you because I now know how you feel that I'm like trying to be really cautious, but at the same time feeling a type of way. So I'm like scared to explore it because I don't want to hurt you. It was a whole drama in my head, honestly. So we get to, it's the final night of Awaken. You want to go dancing, so I sit and watch you dance.
Oh, it was a salsa party.
You have a salsa party.
That's
and
right.
I'm like at the time, too awkward to dance salsa. And then we go to a bar and then we go to Zilker Park. And we're sitting in the park on like a picnic blanket and looking at the skyline and we're talking and you're like playing with my hair. I remember it so well. And I'm like now really feeling a type of way towards you, but still too scared.
And I'm wondering, wait, does she like me? Because she told me we were just friends. So I was getting confused.
Yeah.
And I was totally unattached.
So then we get in the car and we're driving home and I say to you,
can I say it? Should we talk about feelings?
Should we talk about feelings?
And I said, what feelings?
What feelings?
What are you talking about? Right.
I'm your friend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm kind of like feeling a type of way, but I'm too scared to say how I actually feel. And I don't really know what it is. And I'm like just spitting out what I can try and spit out because I feel really awkward and confused. And you said to me, I remember it so well. It was perfect. You're like, Jen, I'm so unattached at this point. Like, if something happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't. Like, either way, we're cool. I just remember my whole nervous system like calming down to the point when I got back to my hotel room, I actually said out loud to myself, well played. It was so well played. Because had you said, well, you know, I feel this type of way and
Zip back up into your head.
No,
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
You would have lost me in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I have a question for you. What I'm genuinely curious now, and I think the listener is going to be curious. I think this is a good one for women in particular. As a headstrong, no one's going to protect me. No, you know, as the woman that you were, to have had relationship with men the way you had them, to finally start feeling something that was legitimately out of your control, your masculine, to where your body, your heart, things were happening inside of you that you couldn't put in a box or control or do that.
yeah.
What was that like?
Freeing. Like me and all that confusion and should we talk about feelings? That's like was still my mind trying to make it fit and control it and make sure everyone's okay and be in the masculine. But as soon as you said to me, it's cool, I'm unattached, it's like it allowed me to drop into that feminine of, okay, like however I show up and whatever the outcome and all those things that feel very masculine and like goal oriented and end result consequence was like, oh, I don't have to worry about that now. So I can just be and we can just see. And that felt amazing.
Had you ever felt that before?
No, especially as a very anxiously wired person back in the day, is I'm always thinking about consequences and outcomes. That's just like how I would function.
Yeah.
So to be given the permission to just be felt incredibly liberating.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking that for me, I was in the epitome of my being that week because I was doing my work. I was doing what I do, you know, and there wasn't any space for the old, wounded side of me to even show up because I have to be in my power when I'm on stage, when I'm holding space for people. And it's just so beautiful the way our story aligned in that way to where you got to see me in my element for who I really am. I got to be in my element for who and what I really am. And I got to like step into a side of my masculine energy, a side of unattachment, right? This is why I'm telling you, and I always tell you guys, sometimes your greatest giftings and your greatest lessons are just on the other side of that hurt that you experience. Because if it wasn't for you giving me the friend card, I would have never stepped into that space of like, I'm good. Either way, I'm good, you know, which is what actually allowed.
Yes, right. That non-attachment and that being is what gave me permission to also just be.
That's right.
So how did it feel for you on the flip side when I sit in the car and say, shall we talk about feelings?
It was like on one end, it's weird because I kind of get a little emotional about it. Because you'll only ever understand this when you have had intensely deep, moving, private, spiritual experiences that only you could ever understand. that no other human being could ever understand, that quite frankly a human being would think you were out of your mind or crazy. But it was like, I'm not crazy. Like, everything that I experienced was true. And it was all just leading us to this moment where you on your own could see who I was. Because it's like, I knew who I was, and I knew what I could provide for a woman, specifically what I could provide and who I could be for you. But there was this underlying fear that wasn't enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that showed up a little bit later in our story. There was this underlying fear because I came from a world of comparison, because I came from a world of competition. I guess the separation within me still didn't believe fully in me and in who I was, and in the fact that who I was enough, basically. So then the next day is my birthday party, and we rent a boat and we go out on the river with my family, and
now I feel like I have the freedom to just like explore.
right.
And I remember that day on the boat, I kept feeling this feeling of like, where is he? But like not wanting to spend too much time with you because it was like your birthday and everyone was there for you.
And I was always like, where is she?
So we're on the boat. Then we all leave the boat and you're having like a dinner that night. And I go back to the hotel. And I remember this moment in the car actually where I was falling asleep in the car. You were driving and I like kept drifting off. And I was like, oh, sorry. And you're like, it's okay. Just like have a nap. You're fine. And I just remember feeling like really safe in your company, like safe enough to just like put my head on the window and fall asleep. I'm getting dressed to go to your birthday and I start feeling off. I start seeing like 3 of everything. I'm thinking I can't not show up to his birthday, right? I get to your birthday, it's all nice. We sit down for dinner and you had saved the seat next to you for me. And that's when I was like, he likes me still. And you turned to me halfway through dinner and your face is like gray. To this day, I've never seen you that color. And you're like, I don't feel so good. And then you disappear.
Yeah, I had heat stroke or something.
I think we both were like sunstroke, but even that was so perfect.
Was Source playing with us because it gave us the perfect reason to leave.
So you said to me, what actually happened was you were really ill. You were lying down and you needed to go home. And Lauren said to me, I don't want Danny to drive himself home. Can you just take him home?
She played matchmaker.
She majorly did. And I was like, yeah, of course. And because I felt so sick, I was like, fuck yeah, I can leave.
Yeah.
So I drive you home. We go back to your house. And we're both feeling horrible. So sick.
We lay down on the couch. We're just talking.
We're actually having like a laugh. Like we're really laughing about the night and whatever. And then you say to me, Jen, I actually just have to go get into bed because I feel awful. Like, should we just go lie down? And because we both felt so sick.
But also so comfortable with each other.
And so comfortable, we were like chill at this point.
I was like, yeah, whatever.
I was like, yeah, let's go lie down. Genuinely still not thinking that anything was going to happen.
I genuinely wasn't.
Well, I'm joking. I genuinely wasn't. So we lie down on your bed. And that's it.
That's it. Next thing you know, we wake up the next morning.
Then that's it. That's the end of the episode.
Well, no, what I will say, and this is to all of you who believe in the magic of love, to believe that everything works out perfectly. For those of you who, are hoping and wishing to someday find your partner, I want to say, and I just want to show you how perfect this is. If you could remember back to episode 1, where I said that on my birthday, 2 years prior, it was actually 2 years to the day when I wake up with you by my side, that I had received the message, you're going to meet the woman of your dreams. You're going to have a baby girl. And that baby girl is going to be the healing culmination of your heart, your mother's heart, and your grandmother's heart. For us to wake up next to each other on my birthday morning, I literally felt like, oh my God, life is magical. Life is magical. And so I wanted to share that with you, because hopefully it helps you to connect the dots and helps you to see that what we share on social media is true, and that there are no coincidences. And once you open your heart, like, some magic could really start happening.
For real.
Yeah. Should we answer some questions? We might have to do it with Selena here.
Okay, let's get Selena.
Let's go get Selena. Yeah. Okay, I'll let you pick the question.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, as you all know that our parents, sometimes situations occur. The baby is crying for us, and we need to break this week's episode. We will come back next week with another episode. We'll not only continue the story, but we'll continue more lessons on relationships, and we will get back to your questions. We'll see you then.